Hellraiser Bloodline.
What's going on, Cinebites? Another Wednesday is coming on. It's time to review Hellraiser 4, aka Hellraiser Bloodlines, aka Hellraiser 4 Bloodlines. However you want to say it. Some posters put 4, some posters ignore it. But this is the last Hellraiser movie to come out to theaters. And this was written once again by Peter Atkins and directed by a fake name. Don't be fooled by it. Apparently, Kevin Yagher and Joe Chappelle directed this. Kevin Yagher, the guy behind so many projects. Child's Play, he does a lot of special effects. He's like a special effects guru. He did Child's Play, all kinds of movies. But he directed this one. I think this is one of his first movies. But then by the end of it, Miramax was giving him shit, saying, change this, we want to add these scenes, change the ending. And then he dropped out. Joe Chappelle, who just did Curse of Michael Myers, came in and took over the rest of the project and gave us this new happy ending that we see and took out 25 minutes of the original film. And that's why this movie feels kind of messy. So, yeah, and this is the first movie where Gary Tunnicliffe, is that his name, who goes on to direct a few of the later sequels and do the special effects in those, he gets full credit this time. Before it was just like Image Studios or Bob Keane. Now it's just Gary Tunnicliffe. So this is his first Hellraiser movie where he gets all the full credit. And yeah, that's all I got to say about this movie. This one's very interesting. This is my first watch, just like Hellraiser 2. And this is probably the last one in its original timeline, like chronological. I think this is like where it drops off into like VOD or like straight to DVD and like its own movie. Like it doesn't even have anything to do with the first 4 no more. Like this is the last continuity Hellraiser movie, I believe. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to the rest of them. All these standalone movies that have shit to do with the first one. But anyways, it's time to open up the gates to the hell world and talk about Hellraiser 4 in this week's Horror Franchise Wednesday. Starting off with the positives, what do we got here? I like that this movie is in space and it doesn't actually suck. This came out in '96. And it's the same year that Leprechaun 4 came out. Speaking of which, we got the Lone Shark guy from Leprechaun 3 in here. We got Lisa from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. Kim Myers, Discount, Meryl Streep. She's in here. And we got lots of Pinhead in this one. I think we get more Pinhead in this one than we do in Part 3. So this one so far has the most. And I think this will be the one that has the most, period. Because I'm pretty sure the rest barely have Pinhead in it at all. That's why I keep hearing, like, Pinhead's not in the sequels. So, I think this is the one. This is it. And we get, but yeah, the space shots. Let's talk about that. I was expecting some shoddy CGI, but I've seen worse. Like, these space station shots that are, like, all CGI, they don't look that bad. For 1996, Miramax hired the right people. And Pinhead, his needles in his face, they don't look like rubber needles. I forgot to mention that in Part 3. They didn't look all that good. But in this one, the the needles in his head, they look more metallic-like. And the Cenobites, we get a Cenobite dog. And it has a Cenobark. Cenobark. I'm okay. The Cenobite dog was alright. It's basically replacing the Chatterer. And at first, I was like, where's the Chatterer? But then I realized that in Hellraiser 2, he's basically gone. Because in Hellraiser 2, they all turn into their human form and they die, and the only one that survived it somehow is Pinhead. So I think that's why we haven't gotten them back. So in this one, we got the replacement with the dog. He's alright, and Kevin Yagher did the special effects for the dog. I think it's a better even tone in this one than Part 3. I hate to just compare this one to other ones, but as its own movie, it's got a pretty decent even tone. It's very serious, unlike Part 3. Where at the end it's like, nice. How's this for a close-up shot? Just those one-line moments I did not care for. They bring back the torture column. I like that. Get some cool visuals in here. I think Joe Chappelle probably is responsible for the cool visuals you might get in this, because I think he knows how to make a great shot. Like Halloween 6 has the best atmosphere out of the whole franchise, and that's the one he did. So that makes sense. Once again, the acting's decent. It's better than Part 3, comparing it again. And just to compare it to Part 3 again, it has cooler sets in atmosphere. So those are the good things I can say about this movie. I don't really have a favorite shot, though, so I'm just going to skip past that. Let's talk about my best scene. My favorite scene is Pinhead when he confronts those two twins and he's like, I am pain. He has a lot of good quotes in this movie. I love that. And the third one, he only had like one line that I could remember. And this one, he has a pretty decent amount of great dialogue when those two twins come in. They're like, we're going to give you a world of pain. And he's like offended by that. He's like, don't talk to me about pain.
Pain has a face. Allow me to show it to you. Gentlemen, I am pain.
Now, the hottest chick in this movie is Angelique, the demon girl. We see a pretty decent amount of her, and then towards the end, she becomes a Cenobite too, and she has like the scalp ripped in half, and it's like tied to her shoulder. Pretty cool stuff. Now, for the stuff I did not care for, this is just me. I like the movie to feel realistic, and I like things to have continuity, and there's no accents in this. Like, they're all French. Like, this movie opens up in France, because this movie is very ambitious. It has 3 like timelines going on. 3 timelines with this bloodline of this lineage, this family tree of this merchant family from back when they were in the 1800s in France, all the way to present day, all the way to the year 2127. And it's just like, you got these French people, and none of them are speaking French, and none of them have a French accent. So just little things like that I point out, because I'm a stickler for that stuff. I want it to feel real. I want to believe like I'm in France. I want that. And they didn't give it to me. They all speak English, and they all have American accent, and I'm not buying it. The special effects in this movie and the CGI, in some shots especially, it's pretty awful. There wasn't any like real like special effects moments where I was like, oh shit, just like the first couple of movies, great stuff, on the same level. And I'm like, there's nothing here. There's a moment where a guy gets like chopped in half. Nothing, like it's very quick, you miss it, and like I didn't see it. But there's one moment where like the two heads kind of go together. That was decent. That was probably the best part. And the Cenobite dog, I thought that was pretty cool. But there's not that many great special effects moments. There is one gnarly kill, and we'll get to that later. And this is a prequel, sequel, origin story, and I don't like prequels and origin stories. I don't really need it. I didn't need to know why this box works the way it works and who created it, who gave it to who, for what reasons. Like, we get to know now. It was created in France, and some black magic demon worshippers put the spells on it, and now here we go. Like, I could have came up with a better story on my own, so I didn't care for the backstory. It's okay, it's cool to know, but I can just ignore this and make up my own reasons. Plus, it doesn't even fully explain stuff. Like there's some things that are still kind of left open, and I'm like, okay, but what about this? And it's not really a satisfying answer. And also, I would like to point out, it's just a lazy explanation, but also Pinhead and Angelique, this demon girl, the relationship, and this is because of the rewriting, I'm guessing, that their relationship and other relationships in the movies, they just kind of go nowhere, or they change. It's like they got like a beef together, and Pinhead's like, I'll show you how it's done. Things are different now. And then like they're working together all of a sudden. It's like, how did they get from that to that? Like, how now they're working together and they're best buds? It made no sense. So I just feel like the rewrites kind of messed up the flow of the story, and some things just do not make sense. This is kind of incoherent, but it's not as incoherent as part 2. But yeah, like the whole story, I guess I can save it for my spoilers, but fuck it. I'll put it right here since I'm talking about it. It's not really a spoiler. Pinhead just wants to access the world more, or just let hell access the world more. Like, open up the gates, John Merchant. You know how to do it. But he also knows how to kill you all. He's got like this blueprint he's trying to work out. I don't know, like, he just like kills him like that. It's like, okay, so you don't want those gates open no more? Like, he has to like kidnap the family to get him to do something that it's like, you're already in the real world. I don't know, it's just, that whole story didn't make sense to me. So, time for final thoughts, and then we will go into my spoiler section. Final thoughts is, this was pretty good. It was alright. I mean, the story could have been done better. I think the rewrites had a big hand in why this doesn't really flow that well, and the story's kind of like, what? I don't get it. It's a prequel, so we get to understand, it's an origin story, we get to understand this. It's a very ambitious script. It's got decent acting. It's got some special effects. It's got one or two cool kills that might make a Hellraiser top 10 kill list. I might do that at the end of this series. But overall, it's alright. It's not the worst, and I heard it's going to go downhill, so this is a pretty decent Hellraiser movie. If you like Part 3, you might even like this one more. I'm not sure if I like it more. I'm kind of going back and forth if I like 3 more or 4 more. But when it comes to Hellraiser 4 Bloodlines, you can probably just check this one out at Redbox. Now, let's go into my spoiler discussion, but before that, let's get my kill awards out of the way. The Mr. Head Award for Best Kill goes to John Merchant in Present Day, when he gets that chain that just shoots right through his throat, and then it just opens up these 2 blades, comes back and chops his head off. I remember seeing this clip online years ago, so I kind of knew this was coming, unfortunately. But the Mr. Twig Award for Worst Kill goes to Adam Scott, who looks like Wes Bentley to me, but he just gets killed by the demon girl, who for some reason put up with his ass for over 200 years and never killed him, but then one day just decided to kill him in a very pathetic way. I think she like rips his heart out or something. I don't know, it's not that interesting. So let's go into my spoiler discussion. This is gonna be quick. So it opens up and it's the year 2127, and this John Merchant guy keeps pumping out children, and Pinhead continues to not successfully kill the son of a bitch. He's the only one who's capable of putting an end to Pinhead, and Pinhead can't seem to fucking kill him. But I like that this guy has like this. This is the first CGI cube we see in the movie, and then the robot does the cube, and it just explodes. It can't handle it, I guess, or maybe Pinhead like did that himself. So I guess Pinhead doesn't discriminate against robots. He kills robots too. But then the French guys, they get this guy to build a box for him, and they take the box and they immediately do this voodoo black magic shit, and it becomes evil, and they get this girl to sacrifice her because they want to bring her back from the dead to make her a slave demon where she will obey them until 200 years later when she rips your heart out. Because she ain't taking it no more. Because it's convenient. All the guy had to do was say, yeah, go ahead, go to France, do whatever you gotta do. But he was being greedy or selfish or whatever. But yeah, then the creator of the cube, John Merchant, he comes back to take the cube, but they kill him. But he quickly already made this, this blueprint for how to build this thing that he can't build yet because he doesn't have the technology yet, but he had the technology to build that cube. Whatever. But yeah, and then finally, the present day guy, he built that skyscraper that we see at the end of part 3 because it just conveniently happened that way. It was fate. It was just something in his blood. And in this movie, the blood lines, like just the memories from your ancestors goes from person to person, so they remember everything like their ancestors did or created, because that's the way it needs to be for the story to work, I guess. Then the demon girl, she kills a guy, and she goes to America to work with the fucking John Merchant guy, and it's confusing as hell. It's like, he's the only one who's capable of killing you. Why aren't you just going to kill him immediately? That's what I thought they were going to do, but she has him right there, but she doesn't. And she goes down in the basement, she takes the cube out of the wall, and she feeds this poor bastard to some shadowy Cenobite that we don't see. Maybe it was the dog, but it looked like a boar or something. But then she summons Pinhead, and they start talking, and they're like having this beef with one another. Like they're like, I don't know, just like comparing like their talent. Like, I'm more talented than you, and it's like, this is how it's done today. I'll show you how to hook someone. But I like when she takes that guy to the basement. She takes him down there for sex, he thinks, and this is a scene that just proves how gullible guys are. But I would like to think I've seen enough horror movies that if I was in that situation, I would know it's a trap and be like, no way, lady, I ain't going down there. There's no way you want me to fuck you just because I helped you pick your purse up. It ain't that easy. But the guy's gullible, and he goes down there and he pays the price for it. And I like these 2 security guards. They're talking about like if they would fuck a tranny, and they're like twin brothers or something. And that's just guy talk, and I like that scene. It's the funniest scene in the movie. It's like, if a guy chopped his dick off, would you fuck him? And the guy's like, yeah, maybe.
Would I do it with a woman that used to be a man? Like with a guy that had it cut off? Yeah, hormones, the whole bit. So what'd you say? I mean, I guess so, if she was cut and all.
Also, just the Lisa character and that son who was the kid in the Shining remake with Stephen King, they felt unnecessary to the movie. There wasn't enough of them. There wasn't enough Lisa. And once again, Lisa, Kim Myers, she knows how to use the cube. She just picks it up and she just points it at the demon and then the demon goes away. It's like bullshit. It's not that easy. But yeah, then those two guards, they turn into a big old Cenobite, double conjoined. So I thought that was funny. They were twins, now they're Siamese twins. But yeah. And then we get the classic line from Pinhead about I am pain. I love that. Love that line. But yeah, then John, he gets his head chopped off because Pinhead, I guess, gave up on his plan. He's like, fuck it. I'll have somebody else open up the gates to the Hell World. I'm sick of this shit. And he just poof, sends a chain through his neck and chops his head off. And Ken Myers and his son had to watch that shit. I bet that traumatized them. And then also, if I'm remembering this correct, I wrote it down. The cube explodes. Like when Ken Myers, she uses it and she like points it at the demon girl and the Pinhead, and they do that CGI optical effect thing where they turn into balls of light and they kind of just get sucked into the cube like it's a Jumanji board. The cube explodes, does it not? I remember it exploding. So how does the rest of the movie happen? Is there multiple cubes? I guess Hellraiser 2 said that, but I don't know. I thought that was weird. Yeah, then we find out that John Merchant made the whole space station like a cube, and the satellites like make the lights go in, and they kill Pinhead. But before that, I like that Pinhead, he's giving this speech, and then John Merchant disappears because he was a hologram the whole time. And just that look on Pinhead's face, I don't think you'll ever see that again in this franchise. That was the first time he was ever confused. He's just like, where the fuck are you? And then he's like, I'm over here. I'm on a separate location. Ha ha ha. And then the whole thing like just makes him melt or something. Like Pinhead dies, but I just love that. And I love that he left like mid-speech. Like Pinhead was going on and on about how he was about to win. Like, finally, we've been fighting your family for like 250 some years, and now today's the day we claim victory. And then he just disappears. But yeah, Pinhead's dead. Then they fly back to Earth, and it's happily ever after. Like, it ends pretty quick. I thought there was another minute or two left, or some kind of like, simmering down. Like it would just simmer down and maybe explain something else, or have an Evil Lives On ending. But no, it just boom, it's over. As soon as Pinhead's dead and you see the ship fly to Earth, it's over. So I thought that was pretty odd. It was very quick. But yeah, overall, good movie. It's alright. Let me know what you thought about Hellraiser 4 in the comments below. Is it your favorite sequel? Some people like 3, some people really love 2 for some reason. I don't understand that. I think it's almost unbearable. But post your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what you see here, you can hit this like button. And if you want to become a subscriber, you can do so just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.